GRAYA is really well known now, and you've got a lot of lenders directly approaching you. Yeah, every bank, a lot of privates. Tell us, why is it that you guys choose to use us? What's the value that you see in letting us handle all of that, as opposed to you guys entertaining all of the approaches that you get, whether it's for your own projects and even for your family homes? Why you choose to use us?
Yeah, well, look, I think it's still weekly that we get approached by somebody for some sort of funding, finance-related activity. And to be honest, when we first started working together, Andrew and I would, still be having these conversations in the background, just wanting to make sure we're getting the best deal possible for each one of our projects. However, in the past few years, we really just don't even waste our time anymore. We have 100% trust that you guys are going to bring us the best 10 deals out there. And we could just focus on what we're good at. And yes, we put a focus and interest in financing, but when the time's right and you guys have done your due diligence, and you guys have given us your advice, then we invest our time and put our opinion forward.
It's a conversation we often have with people around what's your best use of your time. I mean, we invest into some property developers' projects, and we don't try to be property developers because we know that's not what we're experts in. And I mean, as far as you guys and anyone else out there, it's how many hours do you have in a day, right? I mean, there's only so much you can do. And as anyone smart running a business realizes, there's a hell of a lot of things you've got to be across. And then there's your family, right? You want to spend time with your family. Like, how many hours are there in the day? You've got to focus on what you're really good at, what your best value per hour is, right?
Yeah, and I think especially with finance deals, like we've got a general good understanding of finance, but unless you're living it and breathing it every day, there's a lot of areas you can easily get tricked up on and not understand certain metrics that affect the feasibility. So we sort of focus on what we're good at and what we can control, and then we outsource what we can get better advice on. So that's where you guys help us out a lot on our projects.
Yeah, it's funny that, like I always say to our clients, just because we partnered with a funder on this project, that doesn't mean they're going to be the funder for the next project. And it's just a byproduct of the debt market's just changing so much, new entrants to the market. But what we do each and every time is sit down with you guys. And obviously we have some loyalty factors in there in terms of banks and funders that have supported not only your growth, but other clients. And we like to keep them engaged. But sometimes it's Rob, like a tender market. You understand that as well. It's same process with funding. Yeah,
and we've certainly seen the flip side of too much loyalty too, right, over the years. I mean, whether it's with banks or privates, where people have been really loyal to one particular lender, and then for whatever reason they changed. We've seen that a few years ago when one of the major banks completely pulled out of property development lending, and so developers who'd been super loyal to that bank all of a sudden were just left there with no relationships with anyone. And right now in the private market, we're seeing we're in this phase, and this is global investor appetites are changing, and there are some of the really big well-known fund managers out there at the moment who are actually struggling to find money. They might not be telling people they are, but what we see behind the scenes in the investor space is that they're actually struggling to find money. So you've got to be careful about who you're playing with.
And the flip side of that as well is that, the equity markets have underperformed the last couple of years. So investors are looking for alternate asset classes to invest in. And what they have found, or certainly, in the advisory space in the world, there has been more of a shift to that sort of debt yielding style investment. And that's driven what we do in terms of our business with the funding markets. So guys, tell me a little bit about your mindset in terms of finance. So Mark and I can talk to, since when we started our business circa 7 years ago, with respect to, a lot of projects being funded by banks. Now we've got the non-bank options there as well. How has your mindset shifted?
Well, we were always of the opinion to get the cheapest interest rate possible, the cheapest offer we could get, because that looked the best on your feasibility. But back then we didn't really take into account that it could slow you down on site, because certain funders may have certain pre-sale limits, and that it changes how long you take on site or when you can get started on site. So now I think it more depends on our personal circumstances, what we've got going on in the business, how many projects we've got on, because certain deals that have no flexibility just don't suit us. So now it's case by case, and we're more open to different types of deals for sure.
I think a big one to that is spreading our risk on different funders and whatnot as well, so we're not all with one bank. But something that we have been focusing on more so in the last 2 years was the pre-sale component that Andrew just mentioned. For us, we're finding that we like to over-deliver our projects, whereas some developers like to do really good marketing renders, and then their product is not as good. So we're finding that we like some sort of funding deals where we can put minimal pre-sales on the table. We personally want some pre-sales for our peace of mind, but we do like to spread our sales. So instead of selling them all out on some of our projects like Canvas, we sold it all out in like 3 days, and we're like, oh, yeah, that was quick. If we held it a little bit longer, at the back end, some would have been 200k more, some would have been 500k more, and over 21 apartments, that really helps your feasibility a lot. So at the moment, we're really liking keeping some product about the halfway point, and we like to keep some, when the scaffold comes down, and that's just really backing your product, and it takes confidence. It helps in an upward market, but we feel that even in a downward market, if you're doing the best product in the city, there's always going to be a buyer for you, and we like that when we choose our funder.
Yeah, and Maison for you guys, your first foray into the apartment world. You guys had some fantastic resales in there.
Well, that was a big shift in our mindset, because we sold that out, and at the time they were really good numbers. We were happy with that project and how it went, but if we'd held a couple back until completion, the revenues would have been a lot more than what we sold them for. So I think it's a case, if you back your product, if it's in a good location and you intend to over deliver, you should always keep some stock back for the back end, because when people can walk through and see it and touch it, it's more valuable than off the plan.
It's interesting looking at that overall, like actually looking at the bottom line numbers, right? We often have people say the bank costs 7% and the private costs 12% just to make up numbers, and like, 5%, that's huge. But then when you look at it, okay, well, what does that mean in dollars? And let's say it's going to cost you $1 million more in finance costs, but then what can you maybe achieve in terms of GR? And often when people do those numbers, they're like, well, yeah, I can easily sell for at least $1 million more. I'm confident that I could. So all of a sudden that makes a lot more sense, right?
I think a lot of developers in the last 2 years have said, oh, what if I held them all? I could have made all this extra money. And, we're not saying that at all. But what we are noticing is a big focus for us is adding value for people that buy off us. So even if there is something you can sell for a lot more on the back end, it's super important for GRAYA as a brand, for people that purchase off us to be able to sell and make money. And there's been people that have made $3 million off us of a project within a year or two. We've had 1.5 million, $1 million here. Nearly everyone that we've sold to has made a serious amount of money, in some instances more than us on projects, which is hard pill to swallow. But in saying that, that is what makes GRAYA, where people know when they purchase, and they purchase quick, they know they're going to get value when it comes sale day. So that's great for our brand.
Yeah. And the flip side of that is a lot of those buyers who have done well out of our projects will reinvest and buy into the next project. So if everyone does well and everyone makes a bit of money, then you get repeat customers. So we're all about trying to move forward as a team and get those repeat buyers.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point, right? Because so many developers try to squeeze every little drop out of the feasibility. And you certainly see with high density apartment developments where often people have even tried to resell and their apartment's not even worth what they paid for it. Yeah. And so the experience, you're certainly not going to go and buy again in that project, are you? So it's one of those.
I think that was a huge fear of us, going into the apartment world, is the investor stock when you have finished product and it's valued at less at completion. But that's why we stick to the luxury market and design things that are one of a kind. So come valuation and come resale, it's only going up.
So guys, tell us, you've been on a bit of a growth path the last few years. Tell us how you've managed those challenges.
Well, I think any company that's growing goes through certain issues, and it's almost inevitable that will happen. But I think one key for us is surrounding ourselves with staff that are of the highest quality. So we've sort of handpicked a lot of our staff from other successful companies, and having those staff that you can rely on and trust, that definitely jumps you forward many years. So that's probably the key for us, is having the best team possible behind us at GRAYA.
And something we always say internally is the development game is a team sport. You can be a superhero company on your own right, but if you don't have really skilled consultants around you, you can have all these roadblocks, not just speed bumps, but literally roadblocks. And that's why, we use you guys as an example, and we recommend STAC to, from staff to friends, family, and other developers. It's really important to work with like-minded people that are young, hungry, have the heading in the same direction.
Good. Thanks for the shout out. And it's the same for us internally. The people that we've hired, so important to have really good, experienced, high quality, hungry people. We wouldn't have been able to achieve the success we have if it wasn't for the people that are in our business and carry the weight.
Yeah, I think culture and just making sure, the people you surround yourselves with have the same DNA, and all, focused on the same end strategy and goal. We certainly would rather, invest in quality people ourselves as well to get the right outcome for our clients. But in saying that also, take the staff on that journey with us as well.
Yeah, and the consultants, as we were saying before too, that if we didn't have valuers who were willing to do favours for us, and QSs who are willing to get stuff done, and lawyers who are willing to jump on things ASAP and get it done, we wouldn't be able to deliver the results that we can for our clients.
So Andrew, what would your message be to any developers out there trying to mimic the GRAYA success?
Well, I think we've had a lot of our success because we do as much as possible in-house. I think the more control you have over your projects, the better the outcome. So that's one key thing for us. And another one is just picking what type of the market you're passionate about. Like, I don't think you can be a developer in every type of different avenue in the development space. Like, we focused on luxury, high-end residential, and that's what our passion is. So we focused on that. So if you're working on what you're passionate about, I think it makes it a lot easier and more chance of success.
Well, Dale and Mark, thank you very much for coming out here to the riverfront at Indooroopilly here at Sculpt, and telling us a bit about your background of where you started and your points of difference of your business, and where you guys are heading. And just on behalf of Andrew and I, thank you very much for everything you guys do for us as a company.
Thanks, guys. And similarly for us, we're really proud to have you guys as clients, and it's been great to take you guys on the journey from doing the single house renos to where you guys are today. So looking forward to seeing where you guys are in another 5 years.
Keep going.
And next time she's on you boys too.